Hey everyone! So today I want to revisit the simple theory behind the Ray scale, and it's going to be in its own video titled The Ray Scale, because I realized after we went over it in our last live stream, it's a little hard to find on the site because I think it's buried. Sometimes I call it all-purpose scale, or and it could also be buried in fretboard theory. So I'm going to make this separate video that explains the Ray scale, ways to practice it, show some examples of playing with it, and it'll be self-titled for all you subscribers to find easy when you want something to reference to, and for newcomers to find it as well. So basically, this is just a pattern, right? Now, we're all looking, we want to get out of that chord playing only. We've been there, done that. We're really good at that. We want to take the next step. Well, sometimes, two things stop us. One, how do we start? And two, we might not physically be able to do it yet. So remember, guitar playing requires certain physical motor skills that we have to perfect. And we've done that with our chord playing. So remember how we went from nothing to really playing some nice chords with repetitive practice, right? So the same thing is going to happen now when we jump over to the world of notes and scales, is our fingers and our brain and our motor mechanics might not be up to par. So remember, you might feel, like a beginner again. And some people don't like that, so they avoid that and they continue practicing what they're good at. Well, just make sure that, we don't fall into that trap. And rest assured, the learning curve on something like this is nowhere near what it was for your chords, because you were starting from scratch. Now you've built up a guitar foundation, you know what you're doing, you've got some confidence, right? So this is going to be easy, and it's fun because it pushes you again, get the juices going. So the beauty of this little pattern, we can play along with any kind of music, which you're going to find out, right? There's only one way to learn it. You don't have to worry about some scales as I move up, I have to play a different shape because it's different positions, whatever. There's none of that. You can play it anywhere. You can play it in any key, and you can start it anywhere on the fretboard. Like if you were in the key of D, I could easily start my D here, right? I could start it on this D here. I could start it on this D up here. I can start it anywhere, as long as it fits the octave and the tone of the song that I want to play along to, or the chord progression. So let's take a look at it. And it's based on simple octave math, right? Which is, an octave of a note is always found 2 over and 2 strings down. So 2 frets over and 2 strings down. So for example, F, right? If we go over 2 frets and we go down 2 strings, we have the F note again, and everything repeats. If we slide over, the same notes are played as we played here, just an octave higher. Okay? And this applies anywhere in these 4, usually brown or gold or bronze strings that you have on your guitar. And you notice the other 2 are silver? Okay. Well, what I do is I put an imaginary border between those strings. So between strings 2 and 3 is the border. To cross the border, you must move you have to move your note playing. Instead of straight down, you got to move over 1 fret or back 1 fret. That's the only rule here, okay? So if you're in the bronze, no matter where you start, so this would be a D note, D, E, right? And I know this note here is a G and an A, so I got D, E, G, A. If I go down 1 more string, there's the D of the D that I started in the octave. So I know that I can safely play, okay? No problem. Now, when I get to this octave, right, I can go over again and start this whole process again. So remember the notes? So D, E, G, A, right? So now I'm here on this D, right? So what do we got? We got D, E. Oh, G isn't here right under it. Remember? We got to slide up 1, and there's my G. And there's my A, 2 frets off of that. So we maintain the 2 frets. We just have to slide everything over when we go over the border. That's the way I remembered it. And coming back's the same thing. So we would come back 1, 2. Now I could go here, right, because it's opposite. Or I could go, my choice. Or once I'm over the border, I can come back to this as long as I make that move. You can play this anywhere. So if we started right here, what's this note right here? Okay? So this is an F. So if we start here on an F, to the border, there's my F right there. Okay? If we start on a C, there's my C. If we start here on whatever this note is, and this would be a flat, no, this would be a B flat, so there's my B flat. I cross the border, right? So there's how you would practice this scale and getting your fingers into place. Now I do have a video somewhere about this, about getting ready to play your notes, and it talked about working these two fingers because these are the two that you're going to predominantly use when you play this kind of a shape, scale, pattern, whatever, boxes, okay, are these two fingers. And we basically want to get them working in sync like this with our picking hand, right? So this is a great way to just, boom, up and down. Now you've got the added knowledge of the scale. So let's work that in. So let's say we're starting here on A. Just keep our 2s, slide over, just for fun. There's our A, okay? Now, again, start anywhere on the fretboard, and you can play along with any kind of music. And that's what we're going to see right now. So we're in tight, and you have something better to reference. And we're going to do the pattern starting from the A, right? There's the octave. Slide over. A. The border. There's our A. Didn't have to play that, I just did to reinforce that it's the right notes. Okay? So there you go. So what we're going to do now is play along to a backing track. Now I have a track, there's 4 chords in it, right? I don't know the key, but I'm assuming it's the key of D. The first chord is D, second is C, the third is G, and the fourth is D. And it's actually from someone right here on YouTube, TGuitar. I'll put all their information in the description to this video. Some good practice tracks there. Well worth a visit and a subscription. So we're going to play along. Now, because there's 2 Ds, now here, this is an example of being lucky enough to know what the chord progression is. So we know exactly what the chords are and the key, but sometimes you don't know. So when you don't know, you need to know the key. You got to find out what key you're in. You don't necessarily have to know all the chords, but in this case we do, and I see that we got a D on either end. So there's going to be a lot of D going on in here. So I'm going to choose to base my play along in D. Okay? So what does that mean? Well, that means that I'm going to find a D note and start there and implement the Re scale, all right, from that point. And I can start on any D note, right? I'm going to just start somewhere to hear for the tone, to make sure I'm not too out of whack and that it all works together, right? So for the heck of it, I'm going to start right in the middle here on this D. So we're going to start the backing track, and then here's my D. Hear it? So now, I know I can work my way to that octave. Now we want to try to begin and an end on a D. Whenever possible. Okay, but notice all I've done? Basically work my way between the two octaves. Now we'll move over. There's the D again, starting point. Over the border, right? So I had to move. There's the D again. There's my D. Back to the D, right? There you go. So everything I did, now I could have completely jumped over here somewhere and found a D. I didn't have to follow that pattern, or I could have gone all the way back here. Could have played that D there. It's the same notes, right? And that's the beauty of this scale. So, as an example, now we'll use the same backing track, but now what we're going to pretend is we don't know what the chords are. All we know is that someone said, it's in the key of G. Oh, okay. All right, so away we go. Can we play the same thing, but in G? So in other words, we start on a G note instead of a D note this time around. Well, let's see. So let's start the track from where we left it off. And we're going to find a G. G. All right, so I think you've seen the answer, right? So the answer is we can sound just as fitting in another key. And the main reason is, and why I showed you this, is because within a key, any chord within that key will sound good together. And any notes that make up the chords in that key, for the most part, are going to sound really good together. Of course, some are going to sound better in different orders that you play them in. And that's the whole, well, that's finding your solo right there. Just like putting the right kind of chord combination together creates the basis of your hit song. Some chord progressions sound better together than others, and same with the notes, right? So, but it just goes to show you, we just played with under what we think was two different keys, but under the same chord progression. All right, so great little, even just a practice noodle tool, right? To get your fingers going, to make sure you sound right, and that you're always playing the right notes, and that's so important. So once again, you turn on any chord progression, B flat. All that means is you start on a B flat. You play any of the patterns in any way of the Ray scale. 2 over, 1 and 2 strings down, 2 over, form your little boxes, and everything will sound just really, really good. All right, I hope this helps, and like always, right, all of this comes when you just play your guitar. And we'll see you next Tuesday. All right.